What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Today we're doing a trade recap. It's Wednesday, September 11th. There was a pretty aggressive NVIDIA sell-off, broke a lot of technical levels to the downside, just kind of hopped on that sell-off because it was pretty aggressive selling off the open, and made $2,100 in 4 minutes, which is pretty crazy. What we'll do is go over the technicals and then what happened previously on NVIDIA that gave me the confidence to take this trade, because I did chase it a little bit, but I was focusing on those downside technical level breaks. And then we'll watch the real-time price action in the trade. Now to go into the technicals of NVIDIA. So the left, this is the daily chart. So the reason I felt good about downside today is because what happened not that long ago on NVIDIA. Look at this day right here. It broke prior day low. I know I've actually mentioned this before, that the prior day high, prior day low, they can be important technical levels, and that can be the start of a big momentum move in whatever direction that stock is moving. So if it gets over prior day high, sometimes that can be the momentum to the upside. And then if it breaks prior day low, that can be the start of a big downside move. So the character of NVIDIA, or at least the personality of it, is that on this day, just recently, it broke that prior day low, and look at the aggressive selling to the downside. It got some follow through, and it's been consolidating sideways. We do have a 9 EMA that's now going to the downside, and it was below this 20 SMA. So it's below some of those short-term moving averages, and it did have the 50 SMA below. But this is where sometimes those moving averages can work, and then sometimes they don't, where they can be support, or if they break, they can start a massive move to the downside. That's what happened today. So as far as looking at the basic technical levels, I'm looking at prior day high, but the fact that this candle got above this prior day and then rejected pretty aggressively and closed weak, I was leaning to the downside, but now it was just about waiting for the price action to show me that. So we had both the short-term moving averages. It's trading below that. We have 460, which is a pretty big technical level. We have this prior candle that's red after trying to go green. And then we also have prior day low. We have a couple lows. And then we also have a major psychological level, 450 below. And if it loses 450, it did have an open downside gap on the daily chart. So a lot of technical levels below after a failed move higher the prior day. I know I said a lot, but now we'll just go mark those levels. So prior day high, right around 466, make that green. Prior day low was 452.71, make that red. Also knowing the low below that, or the low on that prior day before that, was going to be 451.52. So if we can't hold that, being that it's a green candle, anybody who is long in that candle thinking that maybe there was a bounce, they're going to be underwater. And then look at all these wicks right here. So just a major area of support. So if that gives way, that could possibly start a major move to the downside, being that recently there has been some weakness on NVIDIA. So the short-term trend has been down. So we got the prior day high, the prior day low, the low of the day before that, and then also looking at pre-market high, which was right around 463, and then pre-market low, which is right around 457. So those are the main technical levels that I was looking at, and then it was just about waiting for the price action, what happens, and then react to it. And before we go into the video, you'll see that I end up chasing this a little bit to the downside. But the reason why I liked it is because I do focus on patterns, but I'm also aware of the technical levels. And if we just keep it very simple, 453 to about 451 was a big area of support. And there was so much selling off the open, and also SPY and Qs were showing some weakness, that I ended up going short, chasing it a little bit. But in my mindset was thinking that if we break that 453 to 451, there's the psych level 450, and if that doesn't hold, there could be some aggressive selling to the downside and continuation of the recent weakness. So now to get into the price action, look how aggressive this downside move is. It feels like at this point, any pops could be sold, and that would be an opportunity for more continuation to the downside. But it lost the VWAP, it lost the 9 EMA, it had that big gap up, it broke below 460, it was green on the day, it had a green to red move, and now remember those levels that I was talking about before, that 453 to 451, pretty big areas of support. But when I see this aggressive of selling, I believe that there's a chance that sellers will easily get through those levels. So as it broke that 453 and that new 2-minute candle got created, I ended up going for the 450 puts, thinking that psychological level, maybe we get there. So I took 10 of them. I got a fill price at $7.15, and you can see at the bottom of the screen, I added something. You can see the dollar amount and the percentage change real time. So as long as this kind of hangs below that 453, then I think that this could get down to 450. Now, obviously, nothing has to happen, so I have to be careful about this. But I end up getting a nice move pretty quickly in my favor. And at that point, my mentality is let's not let this trade go red, especially because if you look at the extension to the downside, it could easily bounce. But as long as it stays below that big area of support, which started at 453 and goes to about 451, as long as it stays in that range, then we could get a bigger breakdown simply just because how aggressive that selling was off the open. And if anybody was buying the dip off the open, they are now heavily underwater. And you can clearly tell that by the aggressive price action to the downside. So I get a pretty aggressive move in my favor. I'm nicely up on these contracts. And this is where my mentality on this bounce, I'm thinking, I believe the first bounce is simply just a dead cat bounce. And there's a chance for it to roll over, especially when it stopped right at 450. Big psychological level. And look at this rejection of that candle. So bounced off 450 into 452, get a nasty wick on that 2-minute candle, and then we break 450, and it's really starting to get extended to the downside. So I want to be patient a little bit because I believe there is more downside here. But obviously, if you look at how many red candles are in a row, I know that the moment this thing starts to really speed up to the downside after that 450 break, I want to be thinking about taking profits, especially because I'm up almost 30% on the contracts. And anytime I can get, 20 to 30% pretty quickly, those are scalps that I just need to take profits into. So we break the 450, we come into 449, and it's not really able to break that. So if I see any sort of bounce here, I'm willing to just take those profits because I'm up nicely on those contracts. And you can see it's starting to slow down a little bit, having some trouble. And then the moment that next candle forms and starts to bounce, I just take my profits and sell all of the contracts at $9.25. And that was it for the day. One and done, taking the 450 puts on NVIDIA, getting that breakdown. I did chase it a little bit, but I was focusing on those major technical levels to the downside once I saw the aggressive selling off the open, and then just rode the wave and made $2,100 in 4 minutes, which is awesome. So that was it for the trade recap. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.